Hello, my name is Daria Smith. I'm Portfolio Director for FHS Series. Welcome to FHS Podcast. Today we've got a wonderful guest, Arjan Pitt, Managing Director for Middle East and Africa for UNS. Welcome, Arjan.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's nice to have this conversation today.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's start from the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your journey. What made you come to Dubai and all the beginning, where you started, please?
Sure. Yeah, of course, it's a long story. I've been around for a bit, but after graduating from Delft University in the Netherlands, I spent a couple of years working in the Netherlands at several smaller offices, and then I actually decided to venture out, so get an international career. And of course, the first target was New York. However, the financial crisis basically dictated me to not go. First of all, then I ended up in Belgium working on a freelance basis for an artist there. And that flavor of going somewhere else was very good. So in the end, I ended up in China first for 5 years. And I met a lot of people, international and expats, and I got really into the fact that this community is so interesting, and there's so much more to see in terms of architecture, in terms of life, in terms of cities, how we live, and how we entertain, and how we work together. That inspired me also to travel more. I met people here in Dubai. Then after 5 years, I actually, thought like, okay, maybe this is the next stop for me, Dubai. About 10, 11 years ago, I started here my new career, let's say, working for different offices. And 5 years in, I met people from UNS and we started talking. We have, of course, Wassel Tower under construction. And that sounded super interesting to work for a Dutch company on an international project, one of the icons, of course, of Dubai. And so I joined, and meanwhile, we started to talk about why don't we have an office here in Dubai. And so that's during COVID, actually, we set up the office here with all the licensing, which is quite straightforward here, but still is a lot of process we need to go through. And since then, we grew a team in Dubai who is working on several different types of projects. Residential, some cultural projects, but obviously also in hospitality, as this is a very hot market for hospitality. A lot of people want to come here for their vacation, but also business travel. So the hospitality aspect of Dubai and the offering here has to be exclusive. So we work on a lot of those projects with currently a team of around 40 people here on the ground. And of course, we're very active in Saudi as well, where we are also endeavoring into a new business and setting up an interior design team, which is specifically focusing on hospitality. So the journey started quite small in the Netherlands with smaller offices, but the ambition keeps on growing, and also the success what we see in the market and how we work with our clients on these super interesting projects as well. So there's still room for further journeying out, and that's so interesting to be here.
Yeah, incredible. Dubai is the place to be for one of the most exciting projects and region overall. With, you mentioned Saudi Arabia as well, lots of exciting projects ongoing there as well. So it must be quite incredibly engaging. So being part of that development and growth. Well, you've been all over from the sound of it as well. It must be slightly different coming to Middle East. It's got its own ways of doing things, and being a European firm to start with, but working global projects. How is overall company's vision translates into what you do here in the region?
That's very interesting. Actually, the most international space is places like Dubai. So it's quite interesting to have all these cultures coming together. working for the same goal, basically, where you have a country, UAE, which adapts to any challenge there is, which also with your team, like you have to adapt to the different cultures and the way you work together and what type of projects. And I think this adaptability plus the flexibility of the country, of the city, of the people here, that makes it challenging, but also super interesting, because every day you can learn. You work on some new project. You work on new ideas, on new experiences. I said it before, even today, also that no idea is crazy enough almost, so that you can have the creativity can flow from the beginning. And of course, when reality kicks in, sometimes there's a bit of a reduction of this kind of ideas, but it doesn't mean that these ideas don't stick for the future. So there's always a vision of how can we make things work? If not now, then maybe in the future. And this is quite interesting because we focus on experience design as well as architecture and interior design. That if we bring this together to make these projects work, that is the challenge, but it makes it also dynamic. Of course, we have an international identity almost. We are based headquarters in Amsterdam, which has been a hub internationally for a very, very long time. And of course, there's even within our studios, there's cultural differences. But the interesting part is we learn from each other. So the way we design a building in Amsterdam or for Amsterdam is different than we do for Dubai, or even different than in Shanghai, because the cultures are different. The way we live in buildings and how we use the buildings are different, but also climate, for example. Here, it's super hot, so we want to be shielded. We want to use more sustainable materials because we want to keep the heat out. While in Europe, you have quite the opposite in the colder countries, where you want to get the heat in, basically, and keep the cold out. So this is quite interesting. So we never pretend to have a solution which is globally applicable. And that makes it quite challenging, but also interesting, because there's never an end to research. And our research in Dubai can inform a project somewhere else, but applied in a different way. And that is from sustainability to material use to cultural aspects of how we use our spaces. So that is the interesting part of it. And again, Dubai is, of course, a melting pot of all these cultures, where we even get kind of discussions between ourselves of how we solve certain issues and problems.
I'd imagine it also gives you that competitive edge to a degree, working across different cultures, different climates as well. And we're looking at potentially a climate crisis as well, and general temperature raising. So you have that expertise, and you can implement that in future as well.
Quite an interesting example of that is almost like the Palm Jumeirah or Palm Jebel Ali, or all the artificial islands they built here. Like, they're built by Dutch companies. We in the Netherlands did that out of necessity almost. We need more land, and we need to keep the water out. And here it's for a very different purpose, but on the same techniques. And this is how something which grows out of necessity becomes something which you can use for indeed creating more waterfront developments. And this is the kind of tension or almost inventions we try to look for, and this can inform more than just aesthetics, right?
Well, those projects are incredibly tough and complex. You mentioned challenges a few times. There must be a myriad of challenges working on projects of this scale. And obviously, you mentioned earlier Westall Tower. You worked on Expo City as well. So how do you tackle those challenges, really?
Yeah, that's always the good question from the beginning, right? How, when you have a project where you start, you have a challenge which, first of all, creative challenge, and then you get also the technical challenges, where, of course, the commercial aspects of a project need to work for the developer, for the owner, for the investor. But also the aesthetics need to work. So we want to have something which is accessible, but also visible for people. This is not the end goal. But bringing them together for authority approvals, for material choices, logistics around it. It's always architecture in general is quite a challenging because it connects to so many different aspects of the market. So the material market, the labor market, but also the banking and financing market. And how we bring that together is to work, like our name, United Network Studio also already says, is make use of our network. So we have internal networks, so we collaborate between the studios, but also external, so advisors which we work with for years already, decades even. They know how we work. They can advise us on knowledge of how to get an approval on this, or do material research on that, or develop even new materials. And this makes us also quite unique and strong of how we look at those challenges, because even if we don't know, we know someone who knows, right? And that's how we try to really face those challenges head on and see them as something which we can solve together as a group of people.
Yeah. Fascinating. Well, I wanted to maybe bring it a little bit towards what we do. Ultimately, we are hospitality investment conference, so we work very much with lots of investors, owners coming to event and talking about architecture in that space, how that vision, architectural vision and innovation can really impact some of the decisions when it comes into, what projects to invest in as well. Let's bring it all together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think hospitality is one of those typologies, or hotels, or anything which is related to hospitality. It's one of those typologies which needs to be very adaptive in a way, because you cater to a big group of people. You, of course, be specific of the target group you design for, or you want to have as guests in your property. But it's also very related to the culture you work in, or the location you work in, and what is the experience you want to provide your guests. Hence, also so many different brands of hotels and lifestyle brands nowadays. To bring that indeed together in architecture, experience design, and interior design, where we design for the guests, with, of course, the investors in mind, where they need to have this upfront investment. We tend to think not in cost necessarily. We, of course, work towards a budget, obviously. But we like to have our clients, our developers, to think with us and see what the added value is to the project. So what does look sometimes as a relatively high capex can, of course, create a lot of revenue in the future. And I think we have a couple of examples, not so much hospitality related, but also Mercedes-Benz Museum is a good example of that, where the client actually wanted a showroom, but Ben van Berkel, our founder of UNS, he basically talked with the client and said, well, I think we should make a museum. Are you open for that? And we can show the journey of Mercedes-Benz. And coupled with that, event spaces, which you can rent out separately from that. So actually this whole building becomes not only an icon, it not only becomes something valuable for Mercedes-Benz, but it also becomes something valuable for the people. It's an anchor.
Yeah.
And this is the conversations we look for with our clients, where, yes, architecture is about square meters in the end, because this is what you pay for. But what you do with this, that's more important. That the experience when people are guests and come there and arrive there and feel like these square meters are not square meters, merely square meters, but they're really an experience of it. And this is the the conversations we like to have with our clients and investors, and how we can design that with the culture in mind, with the climate in mind. This is something which we, of course, develop, what I mentioned earlier, with the whole network of knowledge and knowledgeable people.
Yeah. Well, let's add then another dimension. You were mentioning this earlier as well, that, there's always big ideas and crazy ideas, particularly Middle East. We know some of the incredible projects that Saudis, for example, launching. But, there are commercial realities to it as well. So how do you find that balance between, translating the vision, but also being quite realistic about what's actually possible?
Yeah, that's a good question. Also, like the reality, of course, of budgets and even authorities, right? What regulations we need to adhere to. We don't really control the cost of materials, for example. We can only use materials which we know are sustainable, which not only environmental sustainable, but also commercially sustainable in that sense. So this balancing is making efficient buildings in terms of the relative efficiency between what you build and what you can use in the building. So we try to optimize our designs as well. We look at how building efficiencies work in terms of floor-to-floor heights, but also floor plates itself, the sizes of balconies. So we really look at the investment capacity of our investors and clients and see what their ambition is and how we can achieve that and go beyond even where we look for. And this can be just sometimes a design input where we look at not so much a material or the aesthetics itself, but it's a design input to create the space, which is then this experience. And this costs nothing in this sense, right? That's just the space which we know how to form and how to give space and shape to. That makes a cost saving almost, but it gives this added value.
Yeah.
And this is where we try to really achieve the best for our clients.
No, absolutely. And talking about, I guess, added value in terms of any particular emerging trends in, architectural emerging trends, what investors should be looking out for, anything that you'd recommend?
Architectural kind of trends, because it's not fashion, right? It's not really something, a trend we're looking for. It's something which is lasting for a longer time, right? What we design today is still hopefully around for 50 years or 60 or even longer. So what we see is a trend. If it's a trend, it's adaptability. And if a building can change in the future or it can become something new, the mixed use aspect of things where you combine hospitality with living, so branded residences, but also with co-working, because it makes sense, right? How we work now after COVID is different than what we did before. So it's these kind of, you can call them trends, but it's almost a new sense of space. So how we use it. And this is where we look at. And of course, a lot of hospitality is now focused on experience, not so much anymore how luxury is your bedroom or your guest room, but it's more like, what is the experience of it? What is your view? What is the location? What kind of services do I get? And how can we design two spaces which are feel intuitive and that you don't have to look for certain things. So it feels intuitive how you move through the space or where the light is coming from. Yeah. And I think these are, if you call it trends, these are the trends. It's we don't need to use marble anymore or gold. It's more like maybe we do use it, but it's specific places where it does make sense. Yeah. And I think this is the trend then is being more conscious about the decisions you make in the design process. And that has to do with your social responsibility, social sustainability, environmental sustainability, and the health.